Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Puck Buddy Podcast. Woo! Woo! All right, we're back at it again with Week 16. This is our 24th podcast.
Wow.
I know, it's already been 24. Pretty crazy. And with me, I have Mr. Cameron Che. How are you doing, Mr. Cameron?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. That's a great answer. We got Bo coming in across the way on FaceTime. How you doing, Bo?
Bonjour.
Apparently he's in
He
France.
speaks French incorrectly.
Buongiorno.
How are you doing? Hello.
Prego
That's a
fettuccine.
pizza, right?
Yeah. The bonjour is just a pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, we speak French.
Okay.
Bon Jovi.
Bon Jovi pizza.
Bon Jovi, mi amor. So, good to hear from everybody. And I, of course, am Eddie Morad. And we are going to just jump right into it with the news of the week.
Let's do it.
So, I just have two bits of news that I want to go through with you guys. First of all, we have Kent Hitchcock getting fired by the Blues.
No.
I know. Mike Yeo.
No,
Mike Yeo will be taking over for the struggling Blues. He joined the Blues last summer, actually, as an associate head coach. Mm-hmm. So the Blues organization was expecting him to take over sometime in the future. But with the horrible play of the St. Louis Blues, the change came earlier than expected. Hitchcock had coached the Blues for the past 6 seasons and had a record of 248 wins to 124 losses and 41 overtime losses. That's actually a really good record.
Yeah, it is.
He also had the Blues make the playoffs every year under his leadership. Pretty good. Of course, they didn't ever go further than the Western Conference Finals. But the Blues are in jeopardy of missing the playoffs this year. So they're hoping Coach Yeo will right the ship, and they'll buff out those scratches later. So the second bit of news that we got...
Hey, one thing.
Yeah.
Can I get a yayo?
Ayo for the yayo.
Little.
No, literally, hopefully he takes over.
Yeah, I really hope so.
So on to the next one. We have Claude Julien fired from the Bruins. Another
not really surprising, but sad.
Well, he's a pretty decorated head coach of the Bees.
Yeah.
So he's coached them for a decade, which is crazy. And he led Boston to a Stanley Cup championship in 2011 and the Cup final in 2013. And he has a fantastic record of 419 wins, 246 losses, 94 OT losses during his time with the Bruins. In recent years, though, the Boston has just not been the same. They've missed playoffs the last 2 seasons and are in danger of falling short for this postseason. Thus, they released Claude Julien from the Bruins system, and assistant coach Bruce Cassidy will take over from there. So good luck to the Blues and the Bruins for their coaching changes. Hopefully that pays dividends.
Butch Cassidy, all right.
Yeah, let's switch it up. Let's go right into injuries. Cam, I'll have you take it over from here.
Cool. So I am going to first talk about some comebacks from major injuries, or just time off, starting off with Craig Anderson. According to Roto-World, Anderson could be back in uniform on Saturday night versus the Islanders as the Sens backup, which could lead to his first start eventually. And his latest start was December 5th. Obviously, he was out with his wife's
throat cancer.
Cancer treatment and everything. So we wish both of them the best and hope that Anderson can come back and help the Sens get a little better.
Yeah.
As they've been holding it up without him, but they still need him back.
Yeah.
Second,
they haven't broke the condom yet.
Have not, but they're getting close.
They're getting very close.
All right, second we got Andrei Markov. After a 19-game absence, Markov made his return last Tuesday and posted an assist. He'll be skating on the second D pairing and the second power play unit, so keep that in mind. If you have him, take him off IR. Next, we have Alex Galchenyuk. He will make his return to center on Tuesday versus Colorado. Expected to play on the second line, but once he gets his game back, hopefully he'll be back on the top line before you know it.
Mm-hmm.
Another two, a pairing of the same team. We got Barkov as opposed to Markov. Barkov and Huberdeau from the Panthers. Both of these stars returned to action last Friday in epic fashion. As the Panthers got a 2-1 victory over, thank goodness, an Anaheim team that is struggling for points as well. Only struggling to keep that top spot in the Pacific.
Yep.
Barkov had an assist, 2 penalty minutes, and 3 shots on goal, while Huberdeau had a goal, 6 shots, and 3 hits.
Stellar.
Now, a little specific note here: the Panthers pretty much got a huge boost with their two, top liners back in the lineup. Yager gets a big boost with Huberdeau back on the top line with him, and Barkov. The second line is instantly better now with Trocheck, Jokinen, and Smith together, and the top power play line gets a boost with Yandel, Yager, and Jokinen all together. So we are looking good as a Panthers fan group. We are not actually a Panthers fan group, but we pretend to be when we're talking about them.
I am.
Next.
I like the cats.
You do.
Meow.
All right, so
Yeah.
Tyler Toffoli returned to the Kings lineup on Saturday versus the Flyers. He will be skating on the top line with Carter and Pearson, just a resemblance of that 70s line that created so much havoc for the Sharks and the rest of the Pacific Division. He only had one shot and one hit in his return, but he has been out for a little bit, so expect him to take a little bit to get back into game shape.
Yeah.
Second to last, we got Chris Letang. He returned to action on Tuesday, but he's been absent from the top power play unit in light of the waiver phenom Justin Schultz, which we've talked about him a lot. But unfortunately, Letang's value has dropped down as the second power play unit is not nearly as potent as the first. Owners are very happy he's back, but his diminished value has some leaving themselves a little bit disappointed. That English sentence did not make sense.
Nope, sorry.
Brian Dumoulin will be playing on the top D unit with Letang. Lastly, I'm going to talk about one that the Sharks just faced. Max Domi returned to the lineup last Thursday versus the Blackhawks. Only mustered 2 hits in that game, but in the game versus San Jose, he was, -1. However, I will say that his interaction with Couture led to their second goal. So he distracted Couture on the penalty kill. If anyone saw that game, it was very good of Max Domi to get in there, get a little physical. He should get back into the swing of things very soon. Okay, now on to notable injuries. We have quite a few to talk about, so I'm going to go through as quick as I can.
A big one.
Evgeny Malkin. Is that Malkin? Malkin? He will be sidelined again on Tuesday versus the Flames, which will be his 5th game out due to lower body injury. He's still wearing a non-contact jersey in practice, but Coach Sullivan says he's encouraged by Malkin's progress, and he should be back hopefully sooner rather than later. Connor Sheary, same team, now on injured reserve for an upper body injury he had last Friday and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
He has 35 points in 42 games and has found great chemistry on the top line with Crosby, so his absence will be greatly missed. However, Eddie brought to my attention that there are a few guys on this team that will get a big boost in their fantasy value because of Sheary's absence and Malkin's absence. So we have Chris Kunitz and Brian Rust will probably be on the top line with Crosby, giving them obvious fantasy boost. And then Nick Menino and Jay Genzel will be on the second line with Kessel. So Nick Menino's going to have first power play unit time and be on this line with Kessel. Both of those guys, plus Russ and Kunitz, are going to have big boosts. Just letting you guys know that. Keep those guys on your radar. Next, from the Stars, we got Jason Spezza, placed on retroactive injured reserve with an upper body injury, but is expected to return mid-February, so a couple weeks. He has 31 points in 45 games this season, playing a pretty big role, but while he's out, we have Cody Eakin centering the top line of Jamie Benn and Patrick Eaves. Roussel and Brett Ritchie will play with Tyler Seguin, and Patrick Sharp gets the point duties on the first power play unit, although he's still on the third line. So, a few of those names, repeat myself really quick. Eakin centers the top line with Ben and Eaves. Antoine Roussel and Brett Ritchie play with Tyler Seguin, and Patrick Sharp gets to be on the top power play unit, but remains on the third line.
All right.
Okay, moving on to Robbie Fabry. Robbie Fabry. He tore his ACL, will be out the remainder of the season. I don't know how many of us care that much about him as a person, but Tarasenko had great chemistry with Fabry, so it may hurt his play at first, but Tarasenko was elite, and hopefully he'll mesh with other players on the Blues, I'm sorry, they're just so bad. Tyson Barrie. Barrie has missed 5 of the last 7 due to a lower body injury and will sit once again on Tuesday. Moving to Sammy Vatanen. He was out with a lower body injury, has not resumed skating. He has 17 points in 49 games this season. Now, Eddie posed a question to me earlier before we started recording. Is it safe to drop this guy? Really quickly, what do you guys think? Dropping Sammy Vatanen.
Drop it like it's hot.
I concur. Let's move on.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, that was really easy. Sorry, Vatanen. You have no longer... okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. Jonathan Quick. This is kind of a bigger one. He practiced last Thursday and took to the ice again on Monday. However, he's still not going to be back in the near future. That's a quote from Roto World. Doesn't sound like he'll be back in the near future. But he's been traveling with a team, so he might be a little closer to returning than Road to World realizes after they conclude their road trip, that's 2 more games, they will get a 5-day bye week, so perhaps we'll see him once that is over.
At least an update.
Yeah, exactly. Now, one more thing to talk about real quick. With Budai's amazing play, will Quick immediately get his job back? That is something we will talk about later on. I don't know if that'll happen, but keep that in mind, you guys. It's not a sure start for Quick once he gets back because Budai has been playing so well. Moving on to another goalie, we have Jimmy Howard. He finally started practicing again, but will be playing in the AHL with the Grand Rapids Griffins for just a little bit. He's been out since December 20th with an MCL sprain and has missed the past 15 games due to injury. Lastly, to finish up injuries, Steven Stamkos. He was granted clearance to increase his workout, and he continues to rehabilitate his knee, but there is no timetable for a return, and his recovery maybe sometime in March when he returns. We'll see and keep you guys updated. All right.
That's good.
That does it for injuries.
All right. Thanks, Cam. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
So let's go right into the waivers.
Tal vez no sea el mejor de los cocineros, pero te aseguro que vas a extrañar mis huevos rancheros.
One of our favorite sections. It's a great one to get maybe some spot starters throughout the week. So let's start it off with Mr. Bo. Would you start us off, please, sir?
I'd love to.
Thank you.
We'll go with a couple of forwards to start. These forwards are actually both on the same line together, so
nice.
You can either pick one of these players depending on what you need. And they are both on the Islanders. They are being centered by John Tavares, and both of their names, if you want to know, are Josh Bailey and Anders Lee.
Yay!
So Josh Bailey, first off, he is a left wing and right wing. So if you have a need for both positions, he'll do you just fine there. And he's been playing really well as of late, actually. That whole first line has been pretty much carrying the Islanders team. And within his past 6 games, Bailey has 5 goals, 3 assists, +3, 2 power play points, and 20 shots. So he's been producing pretty well right now. He's currently on a 3-game goal scoring streak. So we like that around here when you're scoring goals.
Oh, yeah.
And, the way that he's been putting up goals right now, he actually has almost half of his season goal total in the past 2 weeks.
Oh.
So it's just kind of showing that, how the Islanders in general have completely turned their season around in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
It's just showing that, this first line is the reason why it's being turned around. So, yeah, just note that he's currently on back-to-back multi-point games. He actually had a 3-point game in his most recent game. And, right now with this line being on fire as it is, both of them are must-owns. So now that's kind of about Bailey. Let me give you a little bit more information about Anders Lee. Right now, he's actually making his father, Bruce, very proud.
He's been on the show 3 times now.
Yeah, we keep on talking about him, and he's still only owned 22%.
That's ridiculous.
Come on, listeners.
As of right now, we got to keep talking about him until that.
Come on, 2 listeners. What's going on?
Come on, Mom. Come on.
Oh, man.
Oh, mama. So Lee has been playing really well, as Bailey has been. He's on 3 straight multi-point games. And, since Bailey's the one scoring all the goals, Lee has to be getting all the assists, right? He currently has 1 goal and 5 assists. So, ever since he sat out with an illness on January 24th, he's been playing some great hockey. He's got 1 goal, 6 assists, 3 power play points, 16 shots. And he's a little down with his hits, but, that will change very, very soon. And, just the fact that the Islanders have been scoring over 3 goals in their past 6 games, that's looks very good for this first line. So the fact that they're able to score that much in 6 straight games is completely due to the fact that Tavares, Lee, Bailey have been producing like no other. So I am, A-okay with picking up these 2 players while the Islanders are doing as well as they are.
Solid.
Yeah, great spot starters for those.
Absolutely.
Ride them while they're hot, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Pick up even just one of them so you can get the Tavares points and the Lee points, the Bailey points.
Right.
All right, let me move on to 2 of mine real quick. These are forwards as well on the waiver column. First, I'm going to talk about someone who I still cannot believe is only 48% owned, Mikko Koivu. We've talked about the Minnesota Wild and how good they've been doing, how well they've been doing. They've been doing
pretty gooder.
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 Gooder, funnest, happiest. That's actually a word. Okay,
Yes,
so
it is.
Koivu was ranked 78th on Yahoo. He has 15 points in the past 15 games. For those of you who are not math geniuses, that is a 1 point per game ratio.
That's not bad.
Believe me. Now, last 5 games, I was going to make a racist comment. I didn't. Last 5 games, he has 3 goals. I'm Asian. I'm just going to say it. I'm Asian. Okay, the last 5 games, he has 3 goals, 2 assists. He's +6, 2 power play points, and 14 shots on goal. Now, interesting tidbit. Koivu is hitting a points per game ratio of .76 on the season, which is above his career average of .72. His last 3 seasons in order have been .83, then .60, then .63. So will he keep this .76 up? Probably not, as he has a PDO of 107.4. However, he has a great waiver wire pickup while he is hot and lucky, and obviously the Minnesota Wild do not seem like they are slowing down. Koivu, as a center, should be someone you need to pick up. Secondly, I have Zach Smith of the Ottawa Senators. Some of you may not know who he is because he's only 9% owned, but this guy is ranked 164th on Yahoo Fantasy. He has 7 points in the last 6 games, 3 goals, 4 assists, 14 shots on goal, and 10 hits in that span. His PDO, or luck factor as we've been kind of explaining it, is at 100.7, meaning his recent production isn't as much good luck as it is playing well, which bodes well for your lineup should you pick him. Smith has been recently put onto the top line with Derek Brassard and Mark Stone, and has produced 11 points since moving from the third to the first line. For me, Zach Smith is definitely an unsung hero that could be on your roster as either a center or left wing position. You know how much I love those multi-positional players. Eddie, why don't you go on to your forwards?
Yeah, I'm going to go on to some less flexible forwards, but still just as important to your lineup. So I'm going to start with the other less-known Kane, Evander Kane, not Patrick. But Evander Kane is only left wing eligible. He's 42% owned, but he's had a 4-game point streak previously with 2 goals, 5 assists, 20 shots on goal, 7 hits, 2 power play points in that span. But the past 3 games that he's played, he's been held pointless. During that drought, though, he still put up excellent peripherals with 18 penalty minutes, 19 shots on goal, and 9 hits in that span. He's been second most productive for the forwards on goals, first in shots on goal, third in hits for a forward, and third most consistent forward overall in Buffalo this year. Those are some pretty good numbers. PDO is still at a 98.4, so he could see a little puck luck go his way, which is good for you. Shooting percentage is at a very sustainable 9.9. And he's a great addition to any fantasy roster because despite his absence from the top 6 in Buffalo, he'll still fill that stat sheet of yours real nicely. And he goes under the radar a lot. So he's definitely one that I would pick up on waivers if he's available. Another one that a lot of people have overlooked or have maybe dropped since the beginning of the season is Tyler Johnson. He's only 53% owned, purely a center. And I know Tampa Bay's been doing really awfully, but I don't know if you've noticed, but he's been back on the scene with 7 points in his last 6 games, tied for second in team goal scoring with 16 and third overall with 33 points on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Palat has actually gotten injured, but Johnson has been centering the top line with 2 Russians, Kucherov and Nemestikov. So that boosts his value. But if he keeps scoring at a 1.2 point per game pace, you got to ride him while he's hot. So he's definitely on the up and up, and especially with Kucherov, he's going to be looking at some points coming his way.
So yeah, that pretty much wraps up our forwards right there. And we're going to move along to the defensemen. You know, this is a position that's a little tougher to find something on the wire. And so, you know, with that, we're going to look a little deeper. We're looking at, someone that I said, I told the truth last week and said that I'd be performing well in my starts, and he didn't do too bad. Jacob Trouba. He had himself a decent week. I mean, it wasn't anything outstanding, but he got himself a goal. He was +2. And the thing that did him wonders this week was he got 17 penalty minutes. So, he's not expected to be a huge fighter, but the fact that he was able to pull something off like that is pretty nice. And he also got 11 shots, 7 hits. That's not a bad week for a defenseman on the Jets that's not named Big Buff.
Yeah.
So we'll take that. Right now he's actually been having a decent year. He's currently tied with last year's production of 21 points. So, there's only one way to go, and that's up from last year. So, last year wasn't as favorable to him, but he's well on his way to beating his career high of 29 points. I mean, all he has to do is get, 9 points in the 30 games that are left. So I think that's completely doable. He's definitely stepped it up this year. And, he's worth an add if you're looking a little deeper for that fourth or fifth D-man right there.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to go right off of what you said for that third or fourth D-man. This is a perfect candidate for that kind of position, and it's Nikita Zaitsev, and he's only 11% owned. Last week we did, or at least I mentioned him in the traps, and this week he's now in the waivers, so you might be wondering why the change of heart. Well, with the return of Morgan Riley, I think a lot of people, me myself included, expected Zaitsev to return to the normal stats of where he's been on below the top unit. He's been in second, third units, off of the power play. But even with Morgan Riley back, he's been seeing a lot of exposed power play time, which is awesome. He's been paired with Riley on the top D line and has been placed on the second power play unit. And Riley has actually remained absent from the power play unit, even with his return. Zaitsev, in fact, has now seen a whopping 57.1% of all power play time in Toronto, which is by far the most out of any defenseman. Apart from this, if you are in a banger league, he is a really good option because he has 121 hits on the season. Really good in that aspect. Offensively, he pitches in. He has 22 assists on the season. But, like we said, if you're looking for that last defenseman to get you some wins in different categories, Zaitsev is definitely the man to grab for that. So,
definitely. Yeah, I mean, I have Gudas on my roster, and I would consider Zaitsev and Gudas to be in the same, type of defenseman when it comes to...
Zaitsev has doubled his assists as opposed to Gudas, and Gudas has doubled Zaitsev's goals.
Now, Gudas only has 2 goals, but... It is still doubled.
Still doubled.
All right, let's move on to the goalie category for our waivers. I'm going to just do one real quick. Someone that has been a little confusing, to say the least, when it comes to choosing your third goaltender. Now, Carter Hutton is what I'm going to talk about. He's only 13% owned and ranked 277th on Yahoo rankings. That seems all good and fun. You need a third goalie. He might be the one for you. My only caution is he hasn't been all too consistent, although he does post a .944 save percentage and a 1.85 goals against average in the past 2 weeks, albeit allowing 5 goals on 30 shots against Minnesota in between 2 of his shutouts. So he has 3 shutouts in the past month. Very big qualification for being a goaltender on your roster. For me, I would be a little bit cautious as he and the Blues have been struggling just a little bit. But like I said, past 2 weeks, .944 save percentage, 1.85 goals against average. You can't really ask for more than that. And that does it for my goalie.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think a lot of that has to do with Allen's poor play as of late as well. They still wanted him to be the main starter, but... As of right now, I think personally it's up for grabs no matter what they say. Yeah. If Hutton plays better, he should get the start. So.
Absolutely.
And he has been playing better. My goalie pick for this week is someone who might be owned in your league, Robin Lehner. 61% owned in Yahoo leagues, but I'm going to make a case for him because if he's available, you should swoop him up real quick. He's a good goalie, honestly. But he has a bad case of the my team can't produce any offense syndrome. Symptoms may include posting a .949 save percentage, but still getting a loss. But since the beginning of the year, Lehner has posted a .923 save percentage with a 5-2-1 record. He's clearly been winning the battle with Nielsen for the starting job and should be rewarded with more starts throughout the second half. He is a stellar third goalie. As he will get you great peripheral stats, and in the right matchups, he'll do even better than that, get you a win. But he may burn you if you lean on him too hard. He's not really good at trust falls. So definitely look to see if he's on your waiver. Take a chance on him. I think he'll give you some great peripheries if you have some goalies on better teams who'll get you wins.
You know who's not good at trust falls? Corey Smarter.
Corey Smiley.
I hate Corey Schneider.
Excuse you, Cam.
That's a conversation for it. Yeah, I did not mean to swear on the show.
Because I'm tight.
Corey Schneider.
Can't even say his name on the show. Don't say it.
All right, well, that does it for our waivers. Why don't we get into what you guys probably find most helpful on a week-to-week basis, our starts of the week.
Yep.
Cool. Do you guys mind if I start it off?
Yep, go for it.
All right, I'm going to talk about a center position. However, he can technically play all three forward positions. This guy is Tyler Ennis from those Sabres that Leonard is on. Recently coming back from injury, Ennis is on a 3-game point streak, 1 goal, 2 assists in that time, and he seems to be getting back into game shape after a 5-game pointless drought. The reason I'm putting him on here is Buffalo probably has the best opportunity for points this week, as they play 5 games. That's right, 5 this week.
Wow.
So I expect Ennis to get onto the score sheet in some manner. Their matchups for Buffalo this week are at New Jersey, versus San Jose, versus Anaheim, at Toronto, and then versus Vancouver. For me, Ennis is a safe play versus New Jersey, Toronto, and Vancouver out of those 5, to say the least.
Yeah. Love Tyler Pennis. Let's go on to Tomas Hertl. He is my start of the week at the center position, but he's also left-wing eligible, which gives him a little durability. Mm-hmm. He's 38% owned, but since returning from injury, Hertl has been pitching in and he's gotten 2 points, 2 penalty minutes, 7 shots on goal, 14 hits in 4 games. Very modest numbers. I really like the hits, though. He's been playing a pivotal role as the Sharks' depth player who's bringing size, speed, and hands to the top unit. A big surprise is his peripheral stats, like I mentioned, but his real value will come when he finds his stride along the Joes. He's only played 4 games back. He had a very bad injury, and I expect him to continue to rise in that role. Mm-hmm. He's a perfect buy low candidate, as he has a sustainable shooting percentage of 10.9, Corsi 4 of 55.1, and a very low PDO of 97.4. I really expect Hertl to begin resurging at some point very, very soon. So get him in your lineup this week especially, but start him with confidence. And the Sharks go on their 4-game road trip where they are 15-10-1, and in the last 10, they're 8-1-1. So they're on the up and up. For sure, get Hertl in your lineup. Now, what say you, Bo? You got some names for us?
What say you?
I do.
All
I
right.
like both of your guys' starts. Those were some good choices you had there.
Thank you, sir.
But for me, I'm going to give you a center combo. Well, actually, one of them's a center, but the other one I had to throw in because they are line mates. So, as I did earlier, I'm going to combine these 2 line mates together, and instead of being on the Islanders this time, they play for the Wild. I mean, as you would think, the Wild are one of the best teams in the Western Conference. So why not go with what I think is the best line in the Western Conference, if not the NHL as well?
Yeah.
So this line consists of Mikko Koivu and Jason Zucker, which are the 2 I will be talking about, but it also has Mikael Granlund on it as well. So the reason why I think they are the best line in the NHL is because each one of these players has above a plus 30.
Bo,
Bo, can you go back a little bit?
Restart from, I think they're the best line in the NHL for blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so just like the last bit?
Yeah, from where you said they're the best
cool.
line in the NHL.
Okay, sorry that this keeps cutting out.
I don't think it's your fault, honestly, but it's fine. We'll blame it on you anyway.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll take all the blame. Damn it, Bo.
Damn it, Bo.
All right. So the reason why I consider these guys the best line in the NHL is because each one of them has above a plus 30. So that's really impressive as if right there. That just shows that when they're on the ice, they are producing. They are, not getting scored, and they are the ones doing the scoring.
You shouldn't be making up stats for these players, right?
Seriously.
Doesn't help our listeners.
Oh my goodness.
Are my hand that red? Did you guys just get that red?
You little snake.
No, but we really try to tell the truth here, or the truba, as we said earlier.
Oh my God! Stop.
I will not. I cannot. But to go along with what I was saying earlier, they are such a dominant line since being put together on November 25th. And let me tell you why. So, since November 25th, Zucker has amassed 14 goals, 30 points, and a plus 24 rating in 32 games. So that's almost a point per game pace. Koivu has helped as well, putting up 13 goals, 30 points. He has a plus 30 rating, so that's his rating right there in 31 games. While Granlund, on the other hand, has accounted for 21 goals, 36 points, and has a plus 27 rating in 32 contests. So, within the 30 so games that they've played together, they are all putting up above a plus 20 rating. Each have over 14 goals or 13 goals, and they all have at least 30 points. So this line in its own has been producing like no other. And so I think it's only right that you start both Jason Zucker, Mikko Koivu, and even if you have Granlund, I'm going to throw in that you start him as well. Because right now they are on a tear. Zucker is leading the NHL. Let me say that again. Leading the NHL with plus 33. And he's on a 4-game point streak at the moment. 2 goals, 4 assists, and a plus 6. So, he's just got pluses everywhere, and he's got points everywhere. Koivu is doing well with 3 goals, 2 assists, and he has a plus 6 as well in 5 games since returning from an illness. And Koivu is actually 7 goals away from breaking his career high. So, he's had a long tenure in the NHL, and the fact that he's going to beat his career high this season just says how well this line's doing. So, playing at Winnipeg, then they're playing at home versus Chicago, at home versus Tampa Bay, and then they get to finish it off with a beautiful matchup at home versus Detroit. And if you don't know this already, Minnesota is one of the best home teams. So the fact that they have 3 games at home, it only looks good for, these players. So the last thing I'm going to leave you with is don't be a sucker and start Zucker.
Oh, my God.
I saw that coming. Okay.
Yeah.
And Koivu, too. Okay.
And start Granlund, because if you don't, he might have a hat trick if you sit him. So
That happened to Eddie, in case anyone was wondering. Yeah, he sat Granlund. I want everyone to know that one of the podcasters sat Granlund. Okay.
Anyways.
And also wait. So he's had Granlund, but if you think about it, Granlund plays all 3 forward positions. So he literally had to make the decision that he didn't want to start him at center, didn't want to start him at left wing, and did not want to start him at right wing. How do
You
do
should
that?
see Eddie's face right now. Okay. Sorry.
if only he could play defense
I know,
or
right?
goalie.
Okay, so let's move on to our next position, left wing. Bo, if you want to take us quickly through your guy, I know you have somebody that you want to talk about. I couldn't
Yeah, I
any
can
funny,
totally
I'm
do
sorry.
that. As long as Eddie makes the same face again, I'll continue to talk about these players. So my left winger is someone we mentioned earlier, actually, in the injuries, because, as we know, Connor Sheary is injured, and that is Chris Kunitz. He will be playing alongside Crosby, and I think that's all I really need to say. But if you want me to say more, I can tell you that Kunitz has had previous success playing with Crosby. He has multiple seasons over 50 points playing alongside Crosby, and he had his career high of 68 points, once again playing alongside Crosby. So you just got to start him. He's an all-around stat player. He'll get you hits as well as the points that he'll be producing.
I think that's where his real
Alongside
value
Crosby.
comes.
Yeah.
It's so many hits, too.
Dude, I think that
Well,
Kunitz needs to start a rapping career after hockey, and he'll be K-Units.
Oh, my God.
you nerds!
Oh,
Okay.
God.
All right, but I'm so
Okay,
sorry to
no,
interrupt.
no.
Continue, Bo.
I want to kind of go off of that and the fact that K units will be dropping hits left and right.
Okay, that one came full. That was a good one.
All right.
That was good to end on.
Let's just move on from
Yeah.
that. That's as good as it's going to get.
Yeah.
All right, so
Let me just. Can I throw in their matchups real quick? And
yes, absolutely. Please
we
do.
can,
Please
we can
do.
move on from K units. They're playing at home versus Calgary, and they're playing on the road against Colorado and Arizona. That's beautiful. We're done here.
Basically, yeah, they have amazing matchups. Wow. Okay. Good thing I have Crosby. All right. Moving on to my left winger. This is somebody that I have loved ever since I started watching hockey. You know about him, Patrick Marleau. He can be center or left wing. I put him in the left wing here.
You pronounced his name wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Hat-Trick Marlowe. I'm really sorry.
Sorry.
And by Hat-Trick Marlowe, I mean 4 goals in 1 period. Okay, so basically Patrick Marlowe is an obvious start for those of us who know a lot about him, but he's been extremely hot as of late, picking up 10 points in 6 games.
Mr. 5,000. I'm sorry.
Okay, so in case you're wondering, we had a typo, and it's supposed to be Mr. 500.
Because he scored his 500
goals, but it says 5,000, which is just so much more epic.
Yeah.
Buddy is Mr. 500. So, 10 points in 6 games. Did I mention the 4-goal game? All goals in the third period? Nope, I don't think I need to mention it again, but I will mention it again. If you need more reasons to start him, Marlowe holds a PDO of 100.8, meaning he isn't getting overly lucky. Everything's going in as it should. He has a 5-on-5 shooting percentage of 7.83. That's well above last season's, but not nearly his career high. So, as we know, Marlowe has always scored in bunches, but as the Sharks remain hot, I believe Marlowe will too. They have 4 road games this week against Buffalo, Boston, Philadelphia, and New Jersey, and they hold an 8-1-1 road record in the last 10 road games. So for me, Marlowe, Mr. Shark, Mr. 500 is a no-brainer start.
Mr. 5,000 must start. All right. Thank you for that one, boys. Moving on to my pick. So if you need a brave and bold and beautiful start this week, look no further than Mr. Jenner, Brune Jenner. He has 1 assist in his past 8 games, which is amazing.
Never mind. Go on.
Just don't get in the car with Mr. Boone Jenner. But yeah, he only has...
Buckaroos.
Buckle up, Boone. He only has 1 assist in his last 8 games, but he's a peripheral machine. He has 121 shots on the season with 132 hits on the season.
Wow.
His line has actually been seeing the most ice time on the team with 28.6% of all the ice time. And you can expect some points to come his way because he's on the second line, and they have some sweet matchups at Detroit, versus Vancouver at home, and then versus Detroit again at home. All bottom 5 teams. So start your Columbus Blue Jackets this week, and I really think Boone Jenner will be a solid start for whoever has him on the roster, or if someone needs a spot start, regardless, because he'll get you those peripherals even if he doesn't get the points, which I think he will get those points. And so with that, I'm going to move right into the right wing start for me.
Woo.
Alexander Radulov, pretty rad guy, left wing, right wing eligible, and as a fantasy analyst, you learn to recognize patterns in professional athletes, and Radulov has been showing a knack for getting multi-point games. In his last 8 matchups, he has 3 assists. Then his next game, he had 0 points. Then he had 2 goals. Then he had 0 points. Then he had 2 assists. Then he had 0 points. Then he had 1 goal, 1 assist. Then he had 0 points. So, multi-point games are his forte. Next game is at Colorado, and it looks to be a great opportunity to get that trend alive. Maybe he'll get some multi-points. So, basically, start him against Colorado, sit him against whoever he plays next. But, no, honestly, you should probably start playing him more and more. He's built some great chemistry on the first line with Pacioretty and Denault, but I think with Galchenyuk coming back, he'll start getting that boost. Galchenyuk will be on the top line. So these starts this week are going to be juicy matchups because he has Colorado, Arizona, St. Louis, and Boston. So start Radulov, start Galchenyuk, start that top line in Montreal.
He's basically playing against, going to get some points, score a lot, can't lose, won't get a loss. Those are the 4 games.
Those are pretty much like, damn, I should play him every week, to, why did I play this guy?
Yeah.
To, wow, I played him, this is awesome, to, oh my god, why the hell?
Did I play this guy?
Yeah, anyway.
All right, so moving on from Radulov.
Emotional roller coaster with Radulov.
Yeah, he's pretty rad. You love him so much.
I love him.
Rad, you love him.
I love him
So
every
rad,
other
you love
game.
him. Okay.
Every other game, I love him.
I'm sorry, I had to do that. Okay, so for my right winger, I'm going to talk about someone who is also left wing, right wing eligible, and that is Andre Burakovsky. Now, really quickly, I do want to point out that Eddie wanted to talk about Burakovsky 2 weeks ago, but we ran out of time. Bo mentioned him last week. I am finishing up with the caboose of the Burakovsky train this week. So, after scoring just 38 points in 78 contests last season, Andre already has 28 points in 49 games this year so far. To give you some more perspective, his points per game average has steadily increased over the past 3 seasons, from 0.25 to 0.27 to this season 0.34. In fact, the line of Burakovsky, Eller, and Connolly has been the second most productive line in the NHL in the past 10 games, just behind the Koivu line in Minnesota that we have talked about.
What?
This line, Burakovsky, Eller, and Connolly, in the past 10 games have scored 9 goals for and only allowed 1 goal against.
What?
This week, Burakovsky and the Caps will be at home for all 3 games versus Carolina, Detroit, and Anaheim. I cannot see why you wouldn't want to play this guy.
What?
What?
Wow.
That does it for my right winger. I'm going to hand it off to you, Bo.
Cool. I'll give you guys my right winger. He's already a name I mentioned, so I'm not going to ponder him too long. And that's Josh Bailey. As I said before, that
Bailey's
first
finishing?
line for the... Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
But yeah, I think I shall.
Okay.
The New York Islanders' first line has been carrying the team, as I said before. Bailey is currently on a 3-game goal scoring streak, and I can see that continuing because, that line's been playing out of its mind. Tavares is literally putting the team on his back, carrying Bailey with him, and Bruce Lee is there as well. Well, he's carrying his son, Anders Lee. But anyways, I'm getting distracted about that too. Josh Bailey is a good start this week. I'm not going to say more because I already talked about him. So let's move along.
All right. I'll take over from here, going into my defenseman start of the week. Now, can I ask you guys questions? What's an Australian's favorite Disney movie?
Kangaroo Jack.
That is very close. Not Disney, but they're actually...
Star Wars The Force Awakens?
Well, this podcast is ruined. No, guys. An Australian's favorite Disney movie is Dumba.
Dumba!
Down Under. Anyway. Sorry, that was the worst joke ever. So Matt Dumba has been playing very well this year, posting 24 points and a plus 23 rating and 8 power play points. His shooting percentage is at an 8.1 with a whopping 106 PDO. Normally, this would be extremely outrageous, and we would say that this cannot keep up for a D-man. But, as ridiculous as this may seem, Minnesota is still at the top of the Central and the Western Conference. Dumba sees 100% of all power play time from the back end with Suter. And this should play dividends as the Wild have a nice homestead this week after their game in Winnipeg where they play Chicago, Tampa Bay, and Detroit. And their home record is 17-6-0. I'm pretty sure Bo mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
Start your Wild players this week, and especially start Matt Dumba.
Matt Dumba!
All right.
All right, let me move into...
Kangaroo Jack.
And Kangaroo Jack. All right, let me move into my defenseman real quick. Here, so with Johnny T taking a lot of the spotlight in New York, it's sometimes easy to forget about lesser-known stars like Johnny B. That's right! Billy Chase here with the new and improved Johnny Boychuk Defensive Machine 5000. On the season, this sleek and powerful model of the future comes standard with 6 goals, 10 assists, 17 penalty minutes, 112 shots, and 105 hits. This week, and this week only, the Islanders will be giving away the following 4 games with every purchase. Versus Toronto, at Philadelphia, at Ottawa, and versus Colorado. And on to you, Bo.
What's the number for that again?
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I had to.
1-800 buy a Boychuk.
Buy a Boychuk!
Please.
Oh my god, I'm so... I'm doing it. Oh man. Alright guys, I'll try to compose myself for this next one. Okay. So this next defenseman that I'm going through, they actually said back then they didn't want him, but now he's hot and they're all on him. And you might say, Seth who? Well, that's Seth Jones. For those of you who didn't get that reference, that's the Mike Jones song. And
Oh my god.
if you don't know what that is, an album, then you probably shouldn't, be listening to anything else I'm going to say. Anyways, Seth Jones.
Why do they want him now, Bo?
Yeah, tell us.
Tell us
Because
why
he's
they
hot.
want him now, but back then they didn't want him.
Well, the reason why they want him now is he was playing really well going into the All-Star break, and he's playing even better coming out of the All-Star break.
Whoop.
He has 2 goals and 5 assists and 22 shots in 6 games. in or around the All-Star break. And, even though he hasn't been getting the production that Zach Werenski, one of the up-and-coming stars on the Blue Jackets, is currently getting, he's still out shooting. Yeah, he's still out shooting Werenski. And, when you're out shooting someone, you have a very good chance of finding the back of the net. So I think that's completely possible for him right now. He actually has a beautiful schedule coming up against some non-playoff teams. And those teams that he'll be playing are at Detroit, and then they have 2 home games playing Vancouver, and then they're playing Detroit again. So the fact that they're going to be playing Detroit twice, who's at the bottom of their division, is looking really good for Seth Jones. And if he doesn't perform up to his standards, you can always call what was that number again that Mike Jones came out with? Wasn't it 2-way 1-330-8004? Here's Seth Jones and he on the low, and if he doesn't score, then he's got to go.
That was beautiful, Bo.
That's why I should never freestyle again. Well, now that we have those defensemen done.
So, Bo, I actually have something to add to your Seth Jones little rant there.
Uh-oh. Okay, what is it?
So recently, they've actually replaced Seth Jones on the top unit, and Werenski's been on the second unit. So,
what?
Yeah, Seth Jones has been playing a lot better, and yeah.
Oh, so Jones is now back on the top unit?
He's on the top unit now. So
Woo!
that also
Alrighty.
brings a very big boost to his value. So I definitely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, everything you said times 10.
Exactly.
That's what I said, though. Back then, they didn't want him.
Because he wasn't on the top power play unit.
They all on
now.
it. Yeah, so you saw it. It's all coming to fruition, guys.
Well, thank you for that, Bo. Well, let's try to get this over with. We got goaltenders left.
3 more players, and you guys are good to go.
Yeah. Bo, do you want to take over,
Good
Bo?
to go. Let's go, Bo.
Let's do it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our goaltenders, and I'm going to start it off with Marc-Andre Fleury, and that is MAF for short.
MAF.
So you may be wondering, why would you ever recommend starting a backup goaltender? Well, Marc-Andre Fleury isn't really a backup goaltender. He's actually a veteran goaltender that could be starting on any other NHL team.
He's a Stanley Cup champion, too.
That is very
Multiple
true.
Stanley Cup champion.
Yes. And under his glove, he has every one of those rings still on. So, you know what those rings are going to buy you guys?
For half a second.
The funny thing is, you think it's a joke.
Like, I literally was like, I was trying to picture it. Like, how would that fit under you? He's kidding. Never mind. He's kidding.
Well, he's actually not. That's what's really funny.
It's just real.
It's totally real.
I'm sorry. I'm ruining this. Continue, bro.
Hey, that's the only insight you would get here at the Puck Buddy podcast.
Yeah.
Not many
He wears
other
the rings underneath the
fans
glove.
know this.
I'll start him just for that
Exactly.
reason alone.
Yeah. So back on to Marc-Andre Fleury. So as I said earlier, he's a veteran goaltender. That could be starting on
Kung
many different-
McFurry! I'm sorry. Okay, continue. I'm so sorry.
We're good.
This is great. So with the trade deadline coming up, there's a good chance that Fleury will need to move on to another team. So at this point, the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to try to raise Fleury's value by letting him play a couple of games against some lower teams, kind of prove what he's got, that he's still capable of being that elite goaltender that they had for all those championships. So recently, he's proved that. He had a game against St. Louis, which he only allowed 1 goal. So he had a GAA of 1 and he had a .957 save percentage in that win, which was actually his 4th best save percentage of the season. So, without these next couple of games that I mentioned earlier, they're playing Calgary, at Colorado, at Arizona. Those are some great opportunities for him to build up his value and, put up some solid numbers. So I think the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to take full advantage of that, and that we're going to see a flurry of saves this weekend. So I would start Marc-Andre Fleury.
Flurry of saves. All right. Thank you, Bo. I agree with the Marc-Andre Oreo McFlurry. Now, let's go on to another goaltender. I'm going to talk about a goaltender now named Al Montoya. Now, Eddie has mentioned him a couple times in previous podcasts and is pretty fond of him. I hadn't had much experience watching him play until recently, and he really has been impressing me. So I want to talk about him for a must start when he plays one of the games this week, which he will. So as of late, he's been very excellent. The past 5 starts, he has a record of 4-0-1 with a .932 save percentage and a 2.0 goals against average. Now this week, the Canadiens play 4 games at Colorado, at Arizona versus St. Louis, and at Boston, as we mentioned earlier. Expect Montoya to start at least one of those games, and expect him to play well. His only loss in the past 5 games came in the shootout, after he stopped all 32 shots faced in regulation and in overtime against the Oilers. Yes, McDavid's Oilers. So, was that loss truly indicative of his play? Absolutely not. He gave his team a chance, and I believe that he will do the same when he plays later this week. I know we have one more goalie to talk about, so Eddie, I will hand it off to you.
Yeah, so this goalie is 72% owned. We've talked about him a lot, and at this point, a lot of people might be thinking maybe Thomas Greiss is an auto start. But if you haven't been paying attention, the past couple weeks, it's been a lot of people have actually lost faith in Greiss as he's relinquished 5 goals in the past 2 games. That's a goals against average of 10, or 5 per game. My bad. But he's let in 10 goals in the past 2 games. Regardless, his record is still a 16-8-3 with a goals against average of 2.44 and a save percentage of a 9.21. Those are very good stats. But this next week, I think Greiss will have some really good starts. He's playing Philadelphia, Ottawa, and Colorado. Philadelphia hasn't scored a goal in the past 2 games. Colorado still remains the league's worst team. And I think he should be getting some great looks this week. A little side note that I wanted to add on top of this one is if Greiss really does do well this week and continues to maybe put up some good numbers, you might want to start looking at sending off some trades. Because in the coming weeks, especially during playoffs and where it really starts to matter for your fantasy team, he's going to be playing some very tough teams. The Islanders are going to have to make a lot of pushes if they're going to want to make the postseason. They're still running with some almost no names in the top 6 besides John Tavares. So I'm very skeptical of whether they can keep this success up. But in the meantime, Greiss has been playing well. If you own him, start him with confidence this week. Just start looking for some other options in the meantime.
Awesome. I have actually one more thing I just want to mention really quick, guys. At the beginning of the podcast, when I was doing injuries, I mentioned that Jonathan Quick might return soon. And I posed a question, will Quick or Budaj get that starting spot once Quick returns? Now, we're not going to go into it much now. We will go into it next podcast, but it's something I want you as listeners to think about and us to do a little more research so when Quick does come back, we'll have an answer for you of what we think will happen.
Yeah.
So that is going to be on our minds and will be a big topic for next week. So stay tuned.
Yeah, message us in the comments or send us an email
or
just just send us anything thinking of what you guys think.
Or create your own podcast and put us out of business. I'm totally kidding. Don't do that. Message us and let us know what you think. But yeah, that does it for our podcast today. We hope you enjoy Week 16. Play those people that we talked about. Unless they do poorly, then don't blame us. And we will see you next week.
See ya. Back then they didn't want me. Now I'm hot. They all want me.